If you don't subscribe, this rosy maple moth might give you a visit. Photography is a way of feeling, of touching, of loving. What you have caught on film is captured forever. It remembers little things long after you have forgotten everything. Photography is the art, application, and practice of creating durable images by recording light either electronically by means of an image sensor or chemically by means of a light-sensitive material such as a photographic film. Today's episode is about the very first photographs taken in history. Please let me know your thoughts in the wild comment section. Let's get started. This is the world's oldest surviving photograph, titled View from the Window at Gras. It was taken by Joseph Nicéphore Niépce in a commune in France somewhere between 1826 to 1827. This image was captured via a process known as heliography. Here, the left photo is the original and the right photo is the colorized reoriented enhancement. This is the first photo of a person ever taken. In 1838, Louis Daguerre took this image of the Boulevard du Temple in Paris, where he unintentionally recorded two men in his photograph. One of them, apparently having his boots polished by the other, paused long enough to be recorded by his long exposure, which lasted for several minutes. This is the first selfie ever taken 183 years ago. Robert Cornelius took his self-portrait on the year of 1839. He captured this quarter-plate-sized daguerreotype outside his family store. In 1839 or 1840, a woman named Dorothy Catherine Draper posed for a daguerreotype portrait captured by her brother, Dr. John W. Draper, at his photo studio at New York University's Washington Square. The photo, shot within a year of the daguerreotype process being announced in Paris, is believed to be the first portrait photo made in the United States, as well as the earliest surviving photograph of a woman. The first photograph of the moon was taken by John W. Draper on March 26, 1840. The photograph was a daguerreotype that Draper took from his rooftop observatory at New York University. Hannah Steele Gorby was born in 1746, and she is considered to be the earliest born ever to be captured in a surviving photo. To put her birth date in perspective, she was born in 10 years before Mozart and 23 years before Napoleon Bonaparte. Neither of those famous figures lived long enough to see the invention of photography, but Gorby posed for a portrait with the new technology at the age of 94 in 1840. The first hoax photograph was also taken in 1840 by Hippolyte Bayard. Both Bayard and Louis Daguerre fought to claim the title Father of Photography. Bayard had supposedly developed his photography process before Daguerre introduced the daguerreotype. However, the announcement of the invention was held off, and Daguerre claimed the moment. In a rebellious move, Bayard produced this photograph of a drowned man, claiming that he killed himself because of the fear. Lightning can be an exciting subject to capture, and the first photographer to grab a snapshot did so in 1882. Photographer William Jennings used his findings to showcase that lightning was much more complicated than originally thought. Notice how the lightning branches out in the photo. John Quincy Adams, the 6th President of the United States, was the first president to have his photographs taken. The daguerreotype was shot in 1843. The first photograph of our Sun was taken by French physicists Louis Fizeau and Leon Foucault on April 2, 1845. The snapshot was captured using a daguerreotype process and resulted after 1/60th of a second. If you observe the photograph carefully, you can spot several sunspots. This photograph taken in 1847 is thought to be the first ever photograph taken for the news. It depicts a man being arrested in France. The oldest surviving photograph ever captured of New York City, created in 1848. On July 28, 1851, Johann Julius Borkowski captured the first properly exposed photograph of a solar eclipse. The image was created using a daguerreotype process with an 84-second and a small refractor at the Royal Observatory in Königsberg, Prussia. The first aerial photograph was not taken by drone, but instead by hot air balloon in 1860. This aerial photograph depicts the town of Boston from 2,000 feet. The photographer James Wallace Black titled his work Boston as the Eagle and the Wild Goose See It. The first color photograph was taken by the mathematical physicist James Clerk Maxwell. This photograph shows a colored ribbon, is considered the first durable color photograph, and was unveiled by Maxwell at a lecture in 1861. The inventor of SLR, Thomas Sutton, was the man who pressed the shutter button, but Maxwell is credited with the scientific process that made it possible. For those having trouble identifying the image, it's a three-color bow. Karel Pop de Sainte-Marie is the first known war photographer, capturing hundreds of images of the Crimean War. But it's this image from 1870 that is thought to be the first photograph of an actual battle. Showing a line of Prussian troops as they advance, the photographer shot the image as he stood with the French defenders. The first colored landscape to showcase the world in color was taken in 1877. Photographer Louis Arthur Ducos du Haran was the pioneer in color photography and was the mastermind behind the process that created this photo. The shot depicts the southern France and is appropriately titled Landscape of Southern France. Nature can be a destructive force, and the first image of a tornado was taken in 1884. The amateur photographer A. Adams took the photograph 14 miles from the tornado. This is the world's first underwater portrait, taken in 1899. Disaster photographs may not be the most pleasant of subjects, but we can learn from our past mistakes. The first photo of a plane crash in 1908 showcases the death of aviator Thomas Selfridge. The plane was an experimental design by the Aerial Experimental Association, which was part of the US Army. The plane was also carrying Orville Wright when it crashed. However, he survived. The first photograph from space was taken by V2 No. 13 rocket, which was launched in October 24th of 1946. The photo depicts the Earth in black and white from an altitude of 65 miles. The camera that captured the shot was a 35mm motion picture camera that snapped a frame every second and a half as the rocket climbed straight up into the atmosphere. The first digital photograph was taken in all the way back in 1957. That is almost 20 years before Kodak's engineer invented the first digital camera. The photo is a digital scan of a shot initially taken on film. The picture depicts Russell Kirsch's sun and has a resolution of 176 by 176, a square photograph worthy of any Instagram profile. The Earth was photographed from the Moon in all its glory on August 23, 1966. A lunar orbiter traveling in the vicinity of the Moon snapped the shot and was then received by the Robledo de Cherville in Spain. This was the lunar spacecraft's 16th orbit around the Moon. The The first image of the planet Mars was taken by Viking 1 shortly after it touched down on the red planet. The photograph was taken on July 20th, 1976, as NASA fulfilled its mission to obtain high-resolution images on the planet's surface. The images were used to study the Martian landscape and its structure. On June 11, 1997, entrepreneur Philip Kahn created the world's first camera phone by jury-rigging a digital camera, cell phone, and laptop in the maternity ward where his daughter was being born. He then used the camera phone to instantly share his first photos of his daughter with over 2,000 people around the world. On July 16, 2010, Instagram co-founder Kevin Systrom uploaded the first post on Instagram. The first photo on Instagram shows Systrom's cute pup sitting at a taco stand in Mexico. In November 2018, NASA's Parker Solar Probe was traveling through the Sun's corona, basically its atmosphere, when it captured this remarkable first photo ever shot within the corona. Captured from a distance of 16.9 million miles from the Sun's surface, the photo shows coronal streamers or solar material being ejected by our solar system star. The first ever photograph of a black hole was unveiled in April 2019 after years of collaboration between over 200 international astronomers. It was captured using an array of ultra-powerful telescopes located around the world, and the petabytes of combined data were crunched using supercomputers to create the resulting image. China became the first country to soft-land a spacecraft on the first side of the moon in January 2019. Shortly after the landing, the Chang'e 4 probe beamed back this first photo ever captured of the dark side of the moon. On July 12, 2022, NASA published the first image of the James Webb Space Telescope. This landscape of mountains and valleys, speckled with glittering stars, is actually the age of a nearby young star-forming region called NGC 3324 in the Carina Nebula. Captured in infrared light, this image reveals for the first time previously invisible areas of starbirth. And that's all for today. I'm Tanvir, signing out. See you later.